This car has not been seen in its finished stage since 1954, in its completed state.
A former GM Motorama show car and Corvette prototype.
From 54 to 74, nobody knows what happened to it. It became for sale at a GM car lot in 1975 and it was advertised in Hemmings magazine. When it was advertised in Hemmings in 1975, George Campbell bought the car. A gentleman basically took the car to get it restored for him in 2012, and somehow it made its way to 2015 and made it to me to restore. He said it's a rare Corvette, kept referring to it as number 9, and I just looked at it as another horrible project that I had to fix. And so I paid no attention to it, pulled the body off, and I realized he claimed it was a 1953, the customer, and noticed right away, I was like, well, this is a 54.
Yeah, according to the VIN on the frame, but this body had its own ID stamped into a special plate.
Being a kind of a Ford enthusiast, paid no attention. It's like, okay, it's got what's an SO tag? I didn't even know what SO was.
And that would make all the difference, because the origin of shop order 2151 is well documented to the Motorama show cars.
But this is original General Motors photograph. This was the Motorama traveled cars,
of which there were 15 pre-production bodies made.
Those 15 bodies were used for Motorama type cars, Corvettes. They were all Corvette bodies, but they were all customized. They made like a Wildcat, the F-88 Oldsmobile, that four-door Biscayne. They were all Corvette bodies. The Corvair.
Some of them up here?
Yeah, here's the yellow. So that's this car. So this would be EX129. And then here's the Nomad. That's a Corvette. And then there's the Corvair. That was the fastback Corvair that had a similar trunk to what this car has.
So there's the trunk back here. We can
Yes.
see it a little better over here. But this yellow car, is this car in your garage right now?
Yes. They just used the body. Like I said, it was already existing. It just made common sense to go, hey, we already got a body. Instead of destroying that, let's use it for SO2151.
Common practice, like with EX122. Motorama show car, January 1953, the very start. Later, modified to develop the first Corvette V8.
Oh, the other thing, I just remembered what really sets us off for the first 15. This was a one-piece body. All the others were two-piece bodies. The first 15 were one-piece bodies because they figured out right away that there was a flex and it probably cracked a body. All the other 50, like 53s and 54s, they were split right there. They were two-piece.
Trim on the rear of this 53 is there to cover up that split between the two halves of the body. Same here on this 54 Corvette and on this 55 model. Although some one-piece bodies did have rear quarter trim.
So this was the fender. This was the original glass. It was damaged beyond repair. If your camera picks up the cracking that was on here, and then you see the cloth, but you're going to see yellow paint. There's yellow paint all on here.
Remnants of EX129.
There's green paint.
Bermuda green would be the color of SO2151. Okay, so this body is one piece, but the fiberglass is also different for these first 15. Look at the pattern that old cloth creates.
Where the 53s were still cloth cars.
In reference to a 53 production model the first year.
The first 15 were hand laid.
Corvette author Nolan Adams sent George Campbell this photo, which we believe is EX129. Another photo from General Motors via Adams appears to be the same car. GM labels the back of this photo as a 1954 Motorama Corvette yellow EX129. So, EX129 was retired. Its body assigned shop order 2151, fitted on a new chassis with 1954 frame and running gear, modified in Harley Earl's art and color section with such design elements as a trunk similar to the one seen here and much more to become the 1955 proposal car.
Were all those styling changes that were they on the car?
The only thing was the gills on the side. Hood, trunk lid was removed.
Replaced with stock parts.
This car was stripped, and I mean it was stripped in the 50s. I really think that it was like the first thing to happen was like, let's get rid of the green paint. The fenders on the front were left. So there's an image here, what the body looked like here.
Okay, this is when you got it, or when you tore
and then
it?
you can see yellow paint that's all in here.
This is what after you took it off the
This
frame.
was the day I took it off the chassis. And this is a bogus top. That's like an aftermarket top. It was just on there.
But low miles, this car just needed a miracle.
My name is Billy J.
Great craftsmen don't need a fancy sign or a boulevard address.
I've got a business I started in 1977.
People find Billy J.
I do pinstriping, custom paint work, and we're going to stripe. And I started doing restoration work on automobiles, motorcycles, vintage stuff. This safe is from the 1880s. This is all freehand work. Those are my flames, not decals. I paint the portraits. I always sign my name in the corner. This was the only 69 Shelby with a Boss 302 engine. Purchased a car in like 2005 as a bare metal shell. By 2007, I had it finished and running. I've done cars for the Speedway Museum.
Jimmy Clark's 1963 Lotus Ford. Tommy Ivo's 1967 4-engine, 4-wheel drive dragster. Billy J. also restored this composite quarter-horse Mustang, one of 2 built. So, maybe no big surprise that the styling proposal, bless you, for the 55 Corvette got dropped off at Billy J's shop.
His name is Tracer. He is my tracer. He traces every little step that I do. He's a tremendous little companion, so he's my shop dog.
After GM rejected those styling proposals, it wound up in private hand.
It was advertised in Los Angeles. It doesn't say SO2151, just rare Corvette for sale. And I believe he paid in the $3,000 area. 1975, when George Campbell bought the car. This is in his garage. So this is SO2151 with the red engine. Here's the vents on the side. It's already got a crack on the fender. Same picture, 1975. This is a George Campbell picture. You'll see, look at the yellow paint up here, yellow paint here. Of course, the car was green. Here's the steering column, which still looks like that today. It looks like it's in horrible condition, even at that point.
George Campbell took these photos when he bought the car in 1975 at Empire Chevrolet in Novato, California. Notice the new 1975 Chevrolets on the lot. Under the hood was the SO tag, looking the same then as now. A lot of work to restore one like this stock. Then you got to fabricate those mods, just like Harley Earl's Art and Color did. Campbell knew what he had, as did renowned author Nolan Adams. In 2014, a year before the car got dropped off at Billy J's shop, this car turned up at Bloomington Gold. Serious Corvette judging here with clipboards and flashlights, but never got judged. Display only. Steve Burns of CorvetteBlogger.com took these photos. Side vent fins appear to be cast on both sides, not polished stainless steel like GM used in 1954. Side vents were empty in 1975. 2014 Bloomington looks like somebody had fabricated a headlight splitter. The factory job from 54 looks much thinner. In 1975, no headlight covers or factory splitter. Chevrolet script on each door does not appear in any of the old GM factory photos. No script on the car in 1975. None of these features came with the car when Billy J received it in 2015. Good news was that original one-piece body, one of the first 15 built, was intact. The top restores are visionaries.
The bolts had never been removed off the car. A lot of them I had to cut with a side grinder to get. Anyway, got it off, got it apart, started the restoration. This is all the bushings from the rear leaf springs, all the body bolts that I took off. There's the ground strap. I kept everything. That's the parking brake, made in USA. That's the brake cylinder. These were the axle straps. They were rotted beyond use. But I used 6 of those pads that go between the body and the frame. I put them back on the car. There's the frame all stripped down, ready for sandblasting. You can see how rusty it was, but it wasn't rotted out. So basically that's from sitting in a garage with moisture. We cleaned it, sandblasted. Debbie scrubbed with a toothbrush and wire brush, and we cleaned all the rust and grease away. As time went on, the car got abandoned, and I ended up with the car. From 2015 to 2020, I think about September of 2020, the car started, ran, and moved. Okay, here's the frame. There's the VIN number, which is E. I think it was just General Motors. I'm not sure where the E came from. 54 was the year of the chassis. S was for the St. Louis. That's where the frame came from. 00, and then 2009-2 was actually the consecutive running number.
So this is the VIN?
That's the VIN. There's where the original GM, where they patched the circle where the exhaust came out and then brought the exhaust out here. Every 53, every 54, and every 55, the exhaust came out here. Only 2151 came out through the bumper.
This design feature did make production in 56, but not 55.
When I made and formed those little things that go around each vent, I made a buck. So I titled it, for SO2151. So buck for the side louvers. I put that in a vise, and that's what I used to form so that every single one was the same. From looking at the original black and white pictures, this is 90% exact what was on there, what GM used. And then this is the pattern to get laser cut, the chrome for the side inserts. And so I bent this literally on my vise and formed each one. Well, I had to do 4, I made extras, and then installed those. Okay, that's putting the little trim on that I bent around each vent on the right and left side. So this is the side that got the chrome inserts. This was the painted side. And these are the patterns I made for the trim for the back. That's for the backing. That's for the grill, which had all the bow ties on it. And this was my pattern for the mold for the back of the trunk lid.
Whoa.
This is the aluminum I used for the hood scoop. So here's the cardboard template that I used to roll and form this aluminum. So this is what I started with to make the scoop, and all I had was that one photograph out of Nolan's Adam book. There's the Bel Air grill, which you can see it's an old original one, so I didn't buy a brand new one. And then I had to cut it to fit, curve it just like it is in the pictures, and then curve it both directions. I mean, it had to be curved to match the inside of the Corvette. Basically did the same thing they did.
Here's 2 more design changes for the 55 Corvette.
There you can see yellow all in here, yellow up here on the dash, yellow right there. In 1954, it was a sand beige.
What about these 3 holes in the dash? 2 knobs on the stock 55. What was that 3rd knob going to be? We'll show you in the restoration.
That's the cloth. So that's what I did. 100% over the entire car was lay cloth. So there it is, wet with resin. So that's all been cloth. So now all those cracks are all sealed up and done. And then that body filler got put over the top of it. So you can see these inserts. But all this is wet with all new glass.
Is that cloth inside the insert?
Yes, those are all hand cloth, would have been handmade cloth. And there's a quarter all resined up. There's a good shot of what it looked like when I'm putting the resin to the cloth. There's a picture of Neil, and you had to sand it by hand, and I call it sculpturing. You sanded it until the cloth showed and then stopped. This is the complete chassis.
Almost 5 years had gone by.
See the orange? There's the magenta right there. And I left all these bolts on. I didn't remove any of the Zert fittings or anything.
Shop hours were approaching 1,800.
I wanted to keep everything just like it was in 1954.
Right down to the factory markings on the chassis.
So I put the shocks back on. I put the same bolts back on. I didn't even take these spring wraps off. I left the spring wraps on.
As his last restoration, don't leave, he's still pinstriping. This Corvette was becoming Billy J's magnum opus after over 40 years in the business.
Look at the bottom, how crude this door was made, and it was cracked so bad, but it's the original door from the first 15 made. I even used the original brass fittings. I didn't buy new ones. Brake lines were bad, but I used that same original brake brass fitting. Now the tires are on it, original tires, same size, same tire. Now here's one of the wheels. Two of the wheels still had green paint on them. So I'm gonna say, yeah, those were the original ones. So that is a day or so before the body went on the chassis. Okay, these are photographs of I had tremendous help. I had 8 guys come and help me set the body on. This is Neil, neighbor, actually 2 or 3 neighbors, son-in-law. Carefully put it on, and it really went pretty smooth with all the help. So now it's down, and there it is on. It is Bermuda green.
Not the correct green under these shop lights. We have to look at the car outside.
Which was a 2-tone color that they used for the Impalas and Bel Airs. They also did another Motorama car that was called the Biscayne, and it was a Corvette 4-door painted the same color. The grille is off of a 1955 Bel Air. This car was was basically just to show management what they wanted the car to look like for 55. But again, they chose not to because of poor sales, so they just kept the 55 as the same as 53, 54. They incorporated a hood scoop, non-functional, but it gives a lot of styling to the Corvette.
Looks a whole lot like the scoop on a 58 Ford.
Okay.
And on the side, this is another thing that's very unique, was it has 4 vents that's on each side, and they actually function. I mean, air comes through it. But to show management, this side had chrome inserts. The other side, on the right side, they're painted. And while we're here on this side, the Corvette script was low on the right side. The passenger side, the Corvette script is up high. And again, that was to show management, what do you like? You know, what do you like this side, that side? You know, do you like the chrome inserts? Do you like the painted inserts?
The frame was stamped with the VIN, but what about the body? Inside the driver's door, stamped into a plate on the door pillar, is the VIN. Only the 2 screws remained.
Had 2 background checks through NCIC to see if the car had been stolen, and it came back clean. There was no title record ever to be found of the actual VIN number of the car. SO21 didn't make any difference, so it was the actual VIN of the chassis.
Stamped out a VIN plate and got a new title. Did a stock 55 have this Corvette script?
No, it said Chevrolet because they were going to promote a V8 in the 1955 Corvette. For management purposes, the V was to represent a V8 engine. So this was strictly for management to view and to accept. Trunk lid is extremely unique. And later, we'll show you original black and white images.
As completed in Harley Earl studio.
It says Guide RIA-53. So this was a styling copy from another Motorama car, which was the Corvair, which was the fastback Corvette. And so it was sculptured and made, but again, it's too, well, they say cost effective to do this, so they chose not to. Another unique thing on this car, the exhaust did not come through the body. The exhaust came through the bumper bullets, what they call the bumper bullets. So all 53, 54, and 55 Corvettes, the exhaust came out here. Now later, I think it was in 56 or 57, they end up using this. So, and later in one of the Corvettes, they used the gills on the side too. Let's look at this other side. And you'll see that this runs alongside with the top of these fins, so it comes right back even with this. And then these gills, I'll call them gills, they're painted, which is body color, but still has the same screen, same trim around it, but just no chrome inserts. So again, it was to show management, what do you like?
Look at that, how that door fits.
I know. I looked at the black and white pictures of it, and the doors stick out on both sides at the bottom.
Now, how hard was it for you when you rebuild this car to keep that imperfection in there without fixing it?
I didn't change it. You want to fix it, but you can't. I mean, it's just one of those things like, oh, just leave it alone.
So,
I mean, the fit and finish on these cars are horrendous. You know, just the gaps. There's this gaps that's tight in one place, large in another.
what about the covers?
Dated 1953 in a GM box. I hated to open them up, but they were brand new General Motors.
Well, what happened to the ones that were on it?
They weren't there.
Oh, they
were gone. Yeah. This is awesome. This is the original turn signal lever, and that was originally white, but I mean it's ivory now. But that's the original turn signal lever. That's original, which is the emergency brake light. And there's so much stuff that's original. I mean, some of these light switches are original.
What about this shifter here?
That is an original.
On the restoration, did you leave part of the old paint or anything?
Oh my gosh, yeah. What I did on to keep it untouched, because this is talking about forensics again.
And show me this back end as you raise it first.
Okay. Yeah, the back end, which I copied is exact. Even I had my son design the print that I had to have those actually like stamped out, and all the chrome inserts I had to make. This I cast and made. The interesting thing with the license plate, when I had this made, a guy in Florida made it, and I said the fives have to be exactly like they are in the black and white picture, and he said, well, those are Michigan fives. So then I said, just make it white. I lettered these dark green.
Well, that's amazing. So
and then this is the inside of the trunk. It is bone stock original. You can't blow it out because the paint chips come off so bad, but it's original. The cloth again is the really heavy old cloth. Again, going back to the first 15 cars, they said the first 15 had brass hinges and weren't cast steel. And I went, So I sanded through, and you'll see the gold, and they're brass hinges.
Okay, let me see if
See the gold?
Oh, right here.
Yes, and that solidified that it was one of the first 15 bodies made. Those have casting numbers on them, and they weren't cast steel or cast iron, they were brass. That really dates it to being the first 15 bodies made.
Now brass is the what? The hinge itself?
Yeah, the hinge itself. It's a double hinge, so there's a hinge on both sides. So when I open up the deck, the hinge is the same. It goes back and forth. So it's the same way. And see, there's the other side of the hinge. So this hinge goes and connects into the other side, so one opens up to the other.
Traces of yellow remind us this is the body of EX129. More evidence of the car's past beneath the seats.
The seat backs are original 53 seat backs, 54 seat backs. The bottoms I had to reupholster, did not have any of the bottoms whatsoever.
Upholstery's not original, right?
No, this is. The backs are. They're original. Yeah, look at the back here. Just the backs are original. The side upholstery, some of that's original. The stitching part. One door is original. The other one I had to cover. But it's got new carpet. These are new. This is new vinyl, so it matches really well.
But what about this?
Okay, this was untouched. Again, another forensic thing. You'll see the yellow, and then you see the beige, because it's beige for 1954. 1953, it was yellow. So this is virtually untouched. So all the way down the steering column is all original paint. Somebody sanded the steering wheel, so I had to repaint it. I have photographs to document. It was painted this color. One unique thing, this is just a dummy one. Rigid Corvettes only had these two in, but I think just for aesthetics, they put a dummy switch in there that didn't do anything other than just balance out the 3 on this side.
What about the mileage?
It shows 6,000.
Oh.
But as we took this car apart, it still has the original shocks. 3A54, so that would have been January 3rd of 54. And the original brake shoes have a 1/4-inch groove in the shoe, and only the manufacturer put those on. So if you bought replacements, they were a solid shoe. These were the original shoes. And then when we took the engine apart, my engine builder, that's Scott, that's my engine builder, pulled out and he goes, how many miles is on this car? And I go, I can't vouch for it. I don't know really exactly how many miles. And he goes, he said the bearings are in good shape. And he said, there's still honing marks in the cylinder walls. So he goes, there can't be very many miles. And I said, well, speedometer shows 6,000. But this has a tag on it that has never been removed.
Here's the tag in 2022. Same tag in 1975. when George Campbell bought the car. Same rivets, nothing's changed.
Right here.
Yes, and that has never been removed. And it's like those rivets were put on when that tag was put on, which was July 30th of 1954.
What about this engine? Is it all the same as a standard Corvette?
It is very similar. This engine took me a while to research why it was red.
Because the Blue Flame 6 in the Corvette was blue.
But it was originally red, took the engine all apart. There was red overspray. There's not one trace of any green or blue. You see the remnants of red paint here. So when GM made an engineering change, the first batch engines were painted red. And that was to signify that something was different about the engine. So it was almost like a test engine, prototype engine. This one, and the date goes back into January. This is date, that was January 28th of 54. 9/11, 54, that was for 54. 9/11 meant it was a Corvette block. When we took the head off, that's the red paint under the head. This was a solid lifter engine, so it had larger journals for the cam and had solid lifters in it, which gave the engine 5 to 10 more horsepower. There's a good picture of the numbers. I can't decipher the number, but it goes to dates. And then that YG
was the engine code for the 150 and the 155 horsepower upgraded Blue Flame 6, first seen in this prototype.
All right, let's see what happens here. It's been a while since it started. Yeah, oil pressure's over here. Nice quiet idle. These are original, they've not been re-chromed. The valve cover has been re-chromed. The distributor is the original. You unscrew that and you put lubricant in there. These are the original cover, which was a shield so that the radio didn't pick up static from the engine. And what we'll do now, let me go get those photographs. And these are all pages from Nolan to George.
With original GM photos.
These are the original 8x10 glossy photographs that the only relative of George Campbell gave me his file.
That would be Abby, George's niece.
These are from General Motors. Here is a picture, we'll start with this. This was the yellow hardtop car, and on the back of the photo, it's got the X, it's got the number, and it says 54 Motorama Corvette, yellow EX129. So these are the original studio pictures. Now that one is not marked. Dated March of 1954. This is, of course, the right side where the vents are painted. This is left side. You can't really see it very close, but the emblem is at the low side. These vents are the chrome inserts. But these are great photographs. All the original 8x10s, they're all dated. Nice shot of the grill. Good shot of the back of the car. And 8506. A lot of these images have been in Nolan Adams' book because I think he used these pictures because I think Nolan Adams gave these photographs to George Campbell because they knew what the car was, and Nolan was kind of helping him with background of like what the car looked like. So this says 8503. So this one has like a divider splitter on it. It's a picture where both are covered with the screen. I don't know what it was for. There was no plexiglass over it or anything. It was just a thin piece of aluminum. You can see the beige. It kind of had the silver beige interior, dark green top. Another cool studio picture of the other side. Nothing marked on the back of that one. Incredibly rare studio pictures of SO 2151, March 3rd, March 4th, March 24th, March 27th.